I already filmed this video and hated all of the footage, so here we are. Hello Friendsies, welcome back to my channel. Before we start, I don't think anybody cares. I don't think anybody would notice. Um, my eye is okay. It doesn't look okay. My eye is okay. I think it's either a reaction or just like an irritation to my makeup or my makeup remover. I don't know if it's like expired or I just like need to shake my makeup remover more because I have like a liquid makeup remover. I don't know what the deal is. So if you don't see me wearing makeup for a while, again, I don't think anybody cares or like is bothered that much, but I can tell that my eye is like kind of swollen looking. My eye is okay. It's the skin around my eye. So just wanted to throw that out there, but welcome back to the channel. Now this video is very different than what it's like written down in my planner as. Originally this video was going to be like talking about being at my library job for the past year because it is so different from the last 9 years of my life. But I talk about it constantly and I've made a lot of videos not specifically about my job, but like I tend to find a way to like bring it up in conversation because it's so important and like amazing to me that I'm a librarian now and I don't work in retail. So that was a video, it was going to be like, that was the video that was going to happen, was me talking about my library job and like a yearly check-in basically because I started working there like slightly over a year ago. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do something else that I kind of had thoughts about, and I've talked to my best friend Megan about this. There was, and I think in terms of like the internet and like things that happen on the internet, this is like very old news. But there was a thing that I was kind of keeping tabs on because I saw like, you know, a randomly suggested TikTok about it. And then I found a couple people on YouTube talking about it, like commentary kind of channels, and then like kind of kept up with it from there because I was like, oh my God, this is wild enough that I want to know what happens next. There was I don't want to name names. Usually I'm like very quick to name drop, and it's not even name dropping. I just feel like I'm talking about the people. And then when I say people's names, you know, it like is lets off the little alarms of like, oop, mentioned. But there was a very specific person on TikTok a while ago at this point, like in terms of the internet, like practically 3 years ago, but like this year, so recently, I believe this summer, there was a person on the internet who wrote a book. And when they wrote that book, if you know who I'm talking about, just keep it to yourself. I don't want to get dragged in to nonsense just because I'm quickly mentioning the name. But it was a person who wrote a book that they had been they made a lot of TikTok videos talking about how they had written this book or like had been working on this book since they were like 10, 11, 12. And you know, they went through like all these personal trials and like trials with their writing and how they finally published it and they want to make it kind of like a multimedia thing. But oh, and they also like really like aggressively defended their book. There's like a hole in my hoodie and I keep wanting to like put my thumb through it, but I shouldn't because it's ripped. Anyway, they really were kind of like aggressively defending it, which like I totally understand, but it came to a point where they said some things that when the book came out, it really didn't hold up at all. And I watched a couple reviews of the book. I haven't read it myself, so, you know, I could just be talking shit. But a couple reviews of the book that were rough. And like on the line level of like spelling and just sentence structure, the book was really not good. And then when people reviewed the book, as is their right, the author was pissed and kind of put themselves in a hole. Sorry, these are my bangs, by the way. I'm sure you can tell by the grow out, but these are my bangs and I need to get my hair done. Okay. But yeah, so watching a lot of commentary videos and like reviews of the book and everything, I have talked about on this channel before, and I should have gone back and watched the video just so I could double check if I like still kind of have the same thoughts and opinions on it. But I talked about on this channel forever ago that I've wanted to be an author since I was 4. But now it's a very just me problem. It's a very me problem. Doing YouTube and like, you know, being a YouTuber or whatever the fuck we want to call it. And, you know, as much as I post videos and everything and writing feels very weird to me. And again, it's completely a me problem, but I'll put that video wherever the suggested videos thing is. And I should go back and watch it just to double check if I still have like the same thoughts and opinions. I'm pretty sure I do. I just, forgot to watch it before I filmed this video. And again, this is a refilming of footage that I've already made. And honestly, just in the filming process, I already like it more than I did the other footage. Yeah, I've talked about how I wanted to be an author since I was 4, and I write on and off, but I feel like most writers, you get into slumps where like it's not perfect and you don't know where to go next with your stories. So you just kind of like give up. And depressive episodes and being busy and blah, 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 all that stuff. It's not anything new to anybody that writes ever. But watching all these videos about this very specific author, I was like, hey, I have a story like that I've had the idea of and have been kind of making bits and pieces of it since I was like 10, 11, 12. I could do that better. And it was purely like out of spite. There's one specific reads with Rachel. This is I love this bitch. She reviews a lot of like books that I don't think I will ever read because they just don't really seem like they're for me. Maybe from the synopsis, but then when I watch her videos, I'm like, yeah, no, it's probably not for me. Not even just like her review, because her review is her opinion. My opinion could be completely different, but just like the structure of the story that she explains, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that's for me. A lot of romantasy, which I'm sick of straight people. I'm sick of them. So just stuff that I probably won't end up reading at any point. But I watched her video specifically about the author I'm talking about, and it was just like a pure spite thing. I was like, I could write a better book than that. I could write a book that Rachel would be proud of. I don't even know her, but you know what I mean? It was just like a weird thought I had in my head. So I've been kind of working on my story, and also like working at a library has been like weirdly inspiring. I'm not reading at the desk or anything, but like just being in a library, being surrounded by books, being surrounded by stories makes me want to write and like craft. You know what I mean? But the thing that I wanted to talk about is very similarly to that author. This is a story that's been in my head since I was like 10, 11, 12 years old. But a lot of the comments and reviews about like that specific author was talking about how it doesn't seem like any kind of editing or like work on the story was done, in the sense of like, yeah, I can believe you started working on this when you were 12 because it reads like a 12-year-old wrote it, which isn't to say it's bad necessarily, but there's a lot of things that like should have been further developed, like a better understanding of like the outside world should have been like more implemented into the book. So like, for instance, my story has a couple characters in it that like, I've always had the idea of like representation, but a couple characters in my story, like one, there's a gay couple, but the idea of that couple is one of them gets falsely imprisoned for a reason, and the other one loses a huge part of like who they are. Why did I only write that for the gay couple? You know what I mean? Like, and to be fair, originally they weren't supposed to be a gay couple. They were supposed to be a straight couple. But now that I've changed it, I'm like, oh, but I might need to change which character this happens to. Another character, I've always had the idea in my head that like they're black. But the original story of that character was that they were going to die by drowning. And that feels inappropriate. You know what I mean? Like, that was where I was at like 10, 11, 12. So that feels inappropriate to then have now. But it's something that like when you're a white kid, 10, 11, 12 years old, very sheltered, doesn't have a better idea of the world, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. But now that I'm older, I'm like, I'm going to need to work on that. And, if it ever does get to a point where it's possibly going to be published, like, sensitivity readers are an absolute must from the jump, not later when people have already called me out for certain things. Do you get what I'm saying? So also, I wanted to use this opportunity a little bit to kind of talk about it, because like I don't want to get online and kind of like hype up something that is nowhere near done, nowhere near. the thing with the way I write is I'm very good at, like, I feel I'm very good at writing like scenes, like important scenes, plot scenes, but I don't know how to get between them. I don't know what to do in the middle, because also the way that I write is very like akin to fan fiction, but also very akin to, if you were, I've talked about this a couple times, I think, on my channel. Um, if you were ever in the Sims community and you've seen Sims stories, whether it's Simstagram, which I fucking love Simstagram, whether it's Simstagram, whether it was the old Sims 2 website where people would post just like screenshots and they were stories. The Sims 3 had the gallery for a little bit that did that. Very that. I feel like the way I write is very that, with the idea of like an image in my brain, and you're just like a picture book, basically. You know what I mean? Like, you can see what's happening in front of you. And the text is like not minimal, but like you don't need a lot of description for it. I don't know. I think it makes sense. Like, the way I'm explaining it makes sense, but I don't know if it makes sense to how I'm saying it. And also, my story is heavily based on and in like the Sims franchise. So it's not, these aren't the main characters of my story, but like Bella Goth and Olive Spectre are important side characters. Like, they actively influence the main characters of my story. So that would also have to be something I would change, because I don't think, one, that like the rights are available to use characters and use their names. I'm pretty sure EA would sue me on top of all the other bullshit they're doing right now. But then like I need to figure out a way to, like, I know what these characters are. How do I create essentially new characters to embody these characters? You know what I mean? So that's something like I have to work on. I think what I need to do is kind of just like write the story and then figure the rest of that out later, because I mean, something is better than nothing, especially with writing. But it's also the idea of like a lot of the world building and a lot of the, not science, that doesn't make sense because it's like magical and occult, but a lot of the world building is like with the knowledge of like the Sims 2 universe in my head. Does that make sense? So I need to also figure out a way how to like make the story make sense to people that don't know about how magic works in The Sims 2. Which is funny that I say that, because it doesn't actually I'm trying to think of the plot. Other than the characters and like one certain aspect, it's really not the same magic system, but it kind of is at the same time. I'm kind of just like babbling. But anyway, yeah, it's a story that I've been working on forever, but it's like it's not the same as it was when it started. Not at all. And I think that's for the better. And I think that other author doesn't share that sentiment. I think they're like, nope, it's the same story. It shouldn't be. As you're getting older and learning things and experiencing the world, it shouldn't be the exact same story at all. It should be very different. So yeah, that was kind of the idea. Also, I did want to use this opportunity. Again, I don't want to get anybody like excited or anything, because I am nowhere near, one, finishing the story, or two, finishing a quality story. What I think is good isn't necessarily true, and it will absolutely need editing and tweaking and sensitivity and like beta readers and all of that stuff. But kind of the plot of my story, because like I said, it was kind of out of spite, where I was like, I can do better than that. So I've been working on it a lot more than I have in years at this point. But kind of, I'm not good at giving like a quick overview of things without like getting too excited about it and spoiling the whole thing. I made a whole fucking video just talking about the plot of Return to Oz. You know? But basically my story is about, you know what? And can I say one thing before I say that? I feel like I'm like teasing you. Can I say one thing? I am not on Book Talk or BookTube. I see videos here and there, but I'm not actively like in that community. I'm not participating in that community. I just see it from the sidelines and I'm like, "Ooh, this looks cool." Can I say one thing that I don't like? And it's not specifically like Book Talk, BookTube. It's also like the way books are marketed nowadays. I don't like that there's like not a plot on a lot of books anymore. It's just a list of tropes. That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't tell me what the book is about. What are we doing? Okay, anyway. But yeah, my book is kind of about it's about three siblings, and I don't know if it matters if they're triplets or just that there's three of them. But there's three siblings, and it's the book is about them and what their existence means for the world, basically. I don't know 100% if we're like involving humans as much. They live in the human world because of reasons that they don't live in like the magical realm essentially, but I don't know if humans are going to be like heavily included. I don't think they are, because another big thing of the book is when you come into existence, you have a curse. That's just the lore of the world, and that you get like an explanation of it in the book. And in my head, it's maybe only going to be a duology. If that, if anything, it'll be like a book and a novella in my head. Like, I haven't fully decided. The story's not fully written, but you get the explanation as to why everybody has a curse. But it's about these triplets, their curses, and what that means for the rest of the world because of the reason why curses exist. I don't know if that sounds cool or not. And the other footage I did, I was like, oh, if this is too cringe, I'll just cut it out. I did kind of read a little bit of like writing I had, but I'm not gonna do that because it's a little too cringe. But like, also, I said this is heavily inspired by like the Sims franchise. Also, What the Skell. I talked about their Fortune and Romance series in a video. I'll link that as well. But like, I have this stack of notes, and this is what I wrote like years ago. But What the Skell religion references, and I don't even know if this is like applicable anymore. I don't know if we're going to be talking about these religions in my book at all. But these are notes from What the Skell's live journal page of like different types of religions. So Jacobins, I don't know how we're pronouncing it, which is like, these are like legitimate to The Sims. Peterins, and agnostics and rightism, like, you know, inspired by Will Wright. Fairy taleism, Beelzebub, which is an actual thing in the Sim series. I have witches in their council, which again, a lot of these are like super outdated, but I have like Olive Spectre and Bella Goth on here for like what alignments of witches are from The Sims 2. And then I have like actively NPCs that exist in the Sims franchise. Notes about the triplets with names that don't exist anymore. And just like weird alignments that I like decided that like were like super important. I have a weird family tree that I don't know if that matters or not. Just like, you know what I mean? Like, all of these are super outdated, like about like what they smell like, how they sleep, what music they like, about main characters that don't like these characters don't exist anymore. Melanie Morell is not a character anymore. She does not exist. Her name is different and she's a different person. But then I also, this notebook, I mean, bless this notebook. This is from a coworker of mine that doesn't work at the library anymore, but like, bless her. These are just like all the pages I've written. Where's my page that like absolutely doesn't make sense? Because again, a lot of my stories and inspiration, especially lately, come from the Sims franchise, like pieces of the franchise and lore that were like dangled in front of us just to be interesting enough to distract us from the fact that all of the games are falling apart at the seams. So like, I have Goth family tree and relations, and just like all of the Goth family with like stars next to them. Important crumple bottoms. Like, what am I doing with the crumple bottoms? Nothing in the main story. Other historical figures: Princess Cordelia, Lady Matilda Tartosa, Waylon Juarez. Is it Juarez, or are we calling him Waylon Wares? I don't know. These couple pages I have right here, actually, I'm pretty proud of these, but like, again, they need to be tweaked a lot. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to talk about that. I feel like I made that author's journey and existence on the internet the main point of this video, which is not what the main point was. The main point was I saw that stuff and was like, I can do better than that. And it's been weirdly inspiring to try to do better than that author and work on my story. So again, it's nowhere near done, but if that sounded kind of cool to you, I guess let me know and maybe it'll kick my ass into like writing more. And this video can also just be like accountability check, make sure you do shit because you talked about it. Yeah, much happier with this footage than I was with the other footage. My eye looks really bad, but I honestly think it's the lighting. It does look super swollen in comparison, but I promise it's not. It's literally just skin irritation. Because I'm not in pain. There's no like crusties. There's no concerning anything. Okay, anyway, I'll stop talking about my eye. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed and if you kind of like understand what I'm saying. Talking about like out of spite, I'm gonna do it. I do a lot of things in my life out of spite and like not in a bad way. I know that sounds bad, but it's not in a bad way. If anything, it kicks my ass to do stuff more. So again, thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! And I have to write and publish a book before my ex does. And if they beat me to it, mine has to be better.